Hi, I'm Steve from Cyclist. Just got back from my first ride on board Cannondale's brand new bike. This is the CAAD13. It's aluminium race bike, and yeah, anyone that had an interest in road racing back in the sort of 90s through to the early 2000s will definitely remember those sort of iconic, big, oversized aluminium race bikes that Cannondale produced. Race teams like the Seiko Cannondale team with Mario Cipollini and so on. Really kind of put that brand on the map with those aluminium race bikes. And I guess despite carbon sort of rolling into town and becoming the sort of ubiquitous material at the top end of the race market, Cannondale's one of those brands that hasn't really let aluminium sort of be relegated to the bottom of the heap. It's always invested and developed its aluminium through its CAD models. And this is the 13th generation. More than just an update though on CAAD12, this is a completely different bike. Anyone that can remember those sort of CAAD12 models and before will remember that they're quite a traditional looking bike. They use predominantly round tubes, and yeah, this is a massive step away from that. Particularly aerodynamics is a big part of this redevelopment. Truncated airfoil tube shapes, not easy to do in aluminium. You know, it's easy to mould carbon into all kinds of wacky shapes, but aluminium is tricky, and again I think Cannondale's kind of proved its mastery of the material a little bit with that in producing this bike in the shapes that it has. Obviously the drop seat stays is a big thing, and the profile of the main tube sets all based around shedding aerodynamic drag and making this bike faster and keeping that race heritage that those CAD bikes were kind of known for. As I say, I've just got back from my first ride, and definitely I can feel that's still a big part of this bike. It's really upheld and maintained that kind of racy feel, stiffness, good punchy feel off the mark. It's, you know, it's a light and fast feeling bike. So yeah, I mean, let's take a look at some of the details. Integration is a big part of aerodynamics, as we know. More and more brands are doing that, particularly up at the front. So an integrated bar stem, although this looks like a one-piece design, this is Cannondale's Save product range, which is actually the sort of more comfortable, more compliant version of its aerodynamic front end, based on the knot components used in its top-end aero model, the SystemSix. But what you've got here is a slightly more compliant setup. But what I like that Cannondale does well, I think, is that it's left some adjustment in the handlebar positioning. So there's 8 degrees of rotation available in the handlebar, so you can just tweak your fit and just get that position dialed exactly right, which I think is really important. Integration of the seat clamp, again, that's pretty common these days, but I think Cannondale's done a neat job of that with the Knot 27 seat post. This bad boy is all about comfort, so the structure of the post, the compliance built into the carbon layup and so on. And Cannondale claims that this bike is actually twice as vertically compliant as the CAAD12. I'm not sure, I can't quantify that exactly myself, but definitely from my first ride I can feel that, you know, I think CAAD12 was a really rigid aluminium bike. This has really pegged that back, but it's improved on the speed, it's improved on the performance, but yeah, noticeably more comfortable than the predecessor. So what else we got here? On this top of the range model, we've got SRAM's Force ETAP Axis group set, but a key part of this bike is the wheel set. The Knot 45 is Cannondale's own brand hologram wheel set. This is a kind of cutting edge carbon race level wheel set, which on a £4,000 bike, that's what this retails at in the UK. You know, that's a significantly top-end wheel set to be getting on this bike, and that really, again, that comes across in that kind of race thoroughbred feel of this CAD model. Yeah, I mean, the other thing, I guess, like most bikes now, tyre clearance is a big issue. You've got up to 30mm of tyre clearance. I guess actually you get a bit more than that in there. It's pretty roomy under the fork and at the back between the chainstays, so there's plenty of room for bigger tyre clearance. Even got some mudguard eyes on the back there, so versatility, as well as being a kind of performing race bike, this bike's got versatility in spades. You could stick your mudguards on, run a wide tyre. I dare say this bike could do an awful lot more than just be a kind of a race bike. But anyway, there it is. My first impressions are all good. I think, again, Cannondale's shown what it's capable of doing with aluminium. For my full review, go over to cyclist.co.uk, and for all the specs and all the models, that will be up there too. Thanks very much for watching.